It just dawned on me what we really need for this show is a formal intro rather than
Yeah.
just opening up on the two of us while we wait for Gary and do our show. So welcome to the CanesPort.com postgame show brought to you by CanesWear. With Bruce Warner, I'm Dave Lamont. Gary Ferman, the founder of CaneSport, will be joining us. And a good morning to South Florida, but not a particularly good morning for University of Miami football fans as they lose the game to Texas A&M 17-9. And lots of thoughts about how this was a very winnable game for Miami, and a lot of conversation, I think, between us and also the folks who are welcome to call us. And the number is scrolling right below at 563-999-3550. And if you are a caller, make sure you push 1. And you push 1, and I can see that you are ready to go. We already have somebody waiting. Give Bruce and I a minute or two here just to give our own thoughts. And Bruce, I'll start with you. What you take out of this first defeat of the year?
I take a lot, good and bad. Physically, we were there. Mental mistakes, drop balls, all the things we had talked about before this season even started, and the last 2 weeks, they don't have a go-to guy. And without Restrepo, they really lost a lot today offensively. Those wide receivers were blanketed most of the day. Mallory had some good catches in the second half, but for the most part, they're not getting open. And they were all over our receivers. So that's not going to stop after today. That's the problem with this team this season. Restrepo is going to be out for at least another 4 or 5 weeks, from what I've heard. I like the effort. I don't know if there's something wrong with Van Dyke or it's just that his guys aren't there. That could very well be. But there's something missing with the running game, and the offense isn't clicking. Now, I heard these announcers talk about Gaddis. I don't know. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I don't know. But the defense gave up 10 points today. 17, but Stevenson's muff cost them big time. And, of course, at the end, we could have had the ball inside the 10-yard line. We didn't get it. So, luck, whatever breaks didn't go our way, but they played hard. They fought hard. Yeah, could I second-guess Mario for not going for the touchdown when he only had
Which time?
Points? The last time when he took the 3 points to make it 17-9. A lot of people would have gambled on it, but they didn't do it. So, there wasn't enough time in the game to get the ball back. They almost got it back on the muff punt. The bottom line is they didn't execute offensively today, and that's a big problem. I thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just thought that the offense was going to look much better. Much better. And if anything was going to be bad, it might be the defense. But was the
I'm the exact opposite. This was a step up in class for them to face a real defense. And I also thought that A&M was going to have quarterback problems no matter who they played, and they did. If they didn't have one great breakaway player, which Miami does not have at the moment, they might have not got to 17, even with the special team screw-ups, the missed field goals, the blocked field goal. There were one of the areas that we both I know all three of us felt really good about after 2 games was the special teams. And today, although, we got good punting, we had a screw up on the early kickoff return. The return game wasn't really there. So that's one area that I think that's going to bounce back. The amazing thing to me is that Texas A&M managed to throttle the pass game with all of the problems they had with their secondary, which tells me how talented they are. Yeah. It tells me how much depth they have. When you lose 2 regulars to targeting calls, you have all these other issues in that back group, and they're still able to blanket the receivers. It does say that they're good back there. Yes, it also says that Miami's receivers are not up there. You almost wish you had last year's offense with this year's defense, and you'd have one hell of a team. Yeah. Defensively, they shut them down again. They go through another, great second half on defense for the most part. One area that it's so funny, Bruce, before A&M scored their touchdown, the last one, after that penalty for the throw tackle, which they call that all the time now. It sucks, but they call it. I thought to myself, they're tackling really well. And what happens in the last few plays after that flag, they stop tackling, and that cost them. But the big picture, and I'm dying to see, and when do the grades come out? Monday at CaneSport.com?
Yeah, Monday.
I'm dying to see the grades again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. To me, it's disappointing, but in the long run, this was something they had to go through. They'll hopefully learn from these mistakes. And the physicality was there, which is something that concerns me greatly when they play a Clemson or a Florida State. I'm not worried about physicality anymore. I'm worried about, getting an offense that can move the ball.
Well, that's just it. And we've got some folks waiting, so we've given our opinions. Let's hear from these folks. And I believe, Bruce, you should be able to hear these calls. So let's go right to our first caller who's got a 985 area code. I don't even know where that is.
He'll tell you.
Louisiana.
Oh, no kidding. Whereabouts?
Yeah, just outside of New Orleans, about 30 minutes from where Ed Reed grew up.
Okay, very good. What you got to say?
I got a lot to say.
Well, go ahead.
Mysteries. TVD has nothing. He has no help around him. You talk about last year's offense. He looks out there, doesn't see Embo, he doesn't see Harley. They're gone.
Yeah.
The wide receivers in that room stink. Period. They stink. Okay. I mean, it's obvious. And I'm so tired on this CanesWear board of having to argue with these people through a game about the running QB. Running QBs suck. All you have to do is go look at Malik Cunningham in Louisville. Okay. They have no intelligence. We wouldn't have had any better chance of winning with a running QB or without a running QB tonight. Get off of that. Lashley's gone. Everybody down in Gaddis right now. What did you expect? It's a pro-style power offense. Cristobal, Gaddis, Mirabal aren't going to change who they are. They do not have the personnel on the team to be able to run what they really want to do. So they're trying the best way that they can to work their way around it. Poor Tyler Van Dyke, who was a little off tonight on a couple of throws, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But that was because of pressure a few times, has no help. None.
Yeah, the only encouraging thing. No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Take away the fumble from Tyreek Stevenson, it's a 10-9 football game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, losing Xavier Restrepo, devastating. When that came out on Thursday, I mean, it was like the heart dropped to your feet.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I didn't know there was an issue until I found out on Friday, and I'm like, oh, crap, because Mallory hadn't done anything. Now, he woke up today and had a pretty good game and somehow played through getting dropped on his head, which I wouldn't have advised. But thank you for the call. We got a lot of folks waiting, and I do appreciate it, especially calling from Louisiana. So thank you for being with us. Just for the two calls, we have three on hold. We have one hand up. What you need to do for the 954 and the 717, please hit one, and that way your hand will go up in the air. Mallory came back today, but yeah, I agree. And I also think Van Dyke was under duress. I don't like him as a runner. And a few times I think he ran because, and Herb Street pointed this out, there's nobody open.
Right.
So what's he going to do? You don't want to force and turn it over. So he's got to eat it and gain at least a few yards and maybe, depending on the down, live to fight another day. Let's go to 904. We've got folks waiting. I knew this would happen, Bruce. The first two games they won, we didn't get a lot of calls. Now, look what's going on. Go ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Or this morning. Good morning to you. I mean, you might be in a different area code.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm west of Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, very good. You're in the Panhandle, kind of.
Yes,
Almost.
Sir. Yes, sir. I watched the game tonight. Like I said, I think we forget a lot of times that this is a work in progress. We want our team to win. We want them to be successful in every fashion, but we got to understand something here that this is a whole new system, new terminology, everything. It's going to take these guys a while. But I can promise you this, what I've seen tonight, if it was last year's team under Rhett and under Manny, I think the score would have been a lot worse because, number one, we couldn't run the ball, period. We've had to throw about every down.
Mm-hmm.
Manny would be blitzing 90% of the time and giving big behind plays to Texas A&M. So I'm very proud of what the guys played tonight. I mean, yes, there was drops here. TVD was harassed tonight, mock punt. I mean, these things are going to happen because we're growing in progress. Let the guys learn the system, let more guys come in, give Mario and his staff maybe another year or two. we will have a team that we will be very, very proud of. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that call. And Bruce, that's the optimistic side, and and I know we're going to hear some people who are going to be up in arms, and that's okay. This is the place to come to do that. But it's a valid point that you're injecting a lot of. And by the way, I would love to know before the season started how many of the people out there thought, "Oh, we got this one."
No.
You know,
Everybody was 10-2, 9-3, 8-4 on the show with Lamar. So, but I noticed that Herbie said tonight also about Van Dyke that he doesn't look off the receivers. And there was a couple of they showed where he was staring at the one guy. There was 2 or 3 times that I saw him. He had a flare in the flat and didn't do it. And he was throwing it someplace else. And I thought they were going to go to Rooster in the flat a lot tonight. And they really didn't. And they were that to them.
I don't know. Did he catch the pass? I mean, I don't know. By the way, Bruce, I hate to say I told you so, but I said that last week that he locks in. Even in the Bethune game, I noticed that he locks in. Now, if he does have ambitions for a higher level of football, that better change immediately because he'll never make it. He won't get out of a camp if he can't learn to look guys off. That's going to be just a disaster for his future. But I'll say this, and the last caller brought it up. How many times in the last, all 3 games have we seen him throw under duress? He was getting hit tonight after throws. He hung in quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And the offensive line, the pass protection still isn't there. At times, the run blocking, definitely there. There certainly were moments where so the identity right now has to be run first in order to keep winning. They've got Middle Tennessee coming up next week, should handle that business, and then you get a break, and then off we go into the ACC for the rest of the year. So I understand people's frustrations, believe me. Let's check in with 717. Thank you for calling. Welcome. Bruce and I are here. Gary is on the way, although we might advise him to stay away.
So how you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm calling you from Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
Okay. All right.
Where Will Chamberlain scored 100 points.
Yes, he did.
That's right. Listen, guys, I have something here, and you guys have to. I don't think anybody has pointed this out, but it's very unfortunate. Josh Gaddis is the same coordinator we had 3 years ago with that guy who came over from Bama who got fired. It's the exact same offense. It's third down. I forgot his name. What's his name? Dan something?
Enos.
Who's that offensive coordinator that came over?
Oh, yeah. He used to be the head coach at Central Michigan at one time, too. Yeah.
Yes. Josh Gaddis is him. Because on 3rd and 23, that same guy did the same 3-yard outs. He ran a quarterback draw with a quarterback that can't run. We have Rashard Smith, the fastest guy in the team. And I haven't seen any go routes. Can anybody tell me where's Frank Latson, the former 5-star recruit that came over from Clemson? Where is he at? I didn't see him on the field tonight.
I saw him on the field, but he didn't catch any balls. I don't even think he had any throws to him.
No, I don't think he was targeted either. No. I wonder, in the time that I've spent over the years talking to coaches, you wonder, and the caller brought this out earlier, are you just calling to what you have? In other words, are you able to implement everything? And most coaches will tell you that when they get to years 2 and 3, if they're still around, they find that they're opening up more pages of the book they brought with them. Right now, clearly not. I was disappointed in some of the play calling. The red zone offense was awful.
Yep.
Part of that is certainly the opponent.
It's too predictable.
Well, it's
too predictable.
it's safe.
We keep doing that run.
It's safe.
We keep doing that run to the middle. Yeah, listen, it works.
Yeah.
But listen, I won't hold you up. I'm sorry if I'm.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. This is what we're here for. Thank you for calling.
Without Restrepo there, I'm just thinking if I'm TVD and I'm looking down the field and I can't find 7 because that's where I usually go when I'm in trouble. What's the first person I look for? And he's not there. Then you got to look at your 3rd and 4th guy, and they're not even open. So I'm not saying that's the reason, but it's a part of it. It
is a reason. Yeah. All right, let's go to the comment section because it's been a pretty lively start to our show here. I'm just going to try to go back to the ones that, like this, the Lane Kiffin stuff. We're not going to have that discussion. And please explain to me why Ken Dorsey would leave the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen for the University of Miami. You let me know how that works out.
Yeah, not even factoring in the pension he's going to get at the end of it.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey's on a track to be an NFL head coach. Okay,
Sure.
He's not going to be a college offensive coordinator, even if he has a tattoo of the U that covers 3/4 of his chest. He's not coming back. So let's forget that. Lane Kiffin, I thought would have been an interesting hire when that opportunity arose, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And he seems to be doing okay at Ole Miss, and he's in the SEC. Why on earth would he leave? Yes, I realize Oxford, Mississippi, and Miami are rather different culturally, but still, if you are living a good quality, and he, by the way, I know he loves South Florida because he loved his time at FAU, but still, give me, no, not going to happen. Let's see.
Here's a good one. This BK Kane Arroyo. He caught one ball. No, the guy couldn't even stay with him, and you never see him on the field catching a ball again. And that's a guy who's got speed. He's big. He's faster than Mallory. Why couldn't he do a bunch of crossing routes? I'm not sold on Gaddis. I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but I'm concerned from what I saw today. We had millions of chances to do things, and it was very conservative.
That's my problem. And I just wonder, is he conservative because he realizes that's all he has? Is he naturally conservative? For heaven's sakes, he came from Michigan, not exactly known as the wildest offense on the planet, and also a program that had struggled with quarterback play until very recently. And they were a throw to the tight end guy. That's a big Harbaugh thing. And obviously they tried to run the ball, and that would work for 8 or 9 wins, but then they get to their one game that matters more than life itself. And up until last year, they would get buried alive for the most part. So I'm looking here. Well, a lot of talk about Tyler Van Dyke, which is understandable. He has not had he graded very poorly against Southern Miss and admittedly called himself out. I'm dying to see what he's saying to the media right now. We'll see that when we wake up in the morning. But no, he did not have a great game today. Part of it is not his fault. It isn't. When you're running for your life, it's hard to throw. I don't care how tough you are. Yes, no Restrepo sucks. And that's a devastating injury. Let's continue with the calls. Remember, for the one caller, the 954 caller, don't forget to hit the number 1 so we know you're ready to go. Let's go to area code 808. We haven't had a 305 yet, Bruce. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello. How are you? First-time caller.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, before I say anything about inexperience and the youth of the team, if what happened to Tyreek Stephen by fumbling that punt, if it had happened in the same sequence with previous regimes, the game would have been over. But, we're seeing a progression. But unfortunately, we're not there yet because we don't have all the right guys. It's you can have half the staff of Alabama on Miami's coaching staff, and if you don't have the players, you're stuck. And that's the progression that they're going to have to go through. And it is sad that Restrepo wasn't playing, but
yeah, because he wouldn't have muffed that punt, Dave. He would have gotten on the hopper. He would have let it roll, but he would never have done that. Yeah, and that's a big problem. Not having him in the game is a big problem for Miami.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to take. At first, I think it was going to be a 5-year plan, but I'm looking at maybe 3 years. But we just haven't got enough of the right guys, and in fact, offensive line is the perfect place to start.
Well, that is a thank you very much. That's a Cristobal specialty, but he brings up another point. This is one of the reasons I always normally preach patience when you bring in a new coach. Here's why: the new coach didn't recruit any of these cats, except for the true freshmen, and the portal guys have not worn orange and green before, so they're brand new too. So you have all this newness now. Yes, you have spring ball. Yes, you have summer. and you have some chance to try to get your stuff together. But you now are faced with that dilemma that coaches run into when they come into a new town. Do I do my thing and make the players adjust to me? Or do I look at them and go, crap, I can't do that. Not now anyway. I'll bring those guys in and then I'll adjust to them. And it appears that the idea right now is adjusting to them rather than try to, take this, not that Mario's the spread guy, but, let's say they had hired some spread wizard and all of a sudden Tyler Van Dyke is throwing 4-yard passes and they're running plays every 10 seconds and all this other stuff. Don't know if you have the people for that. That's one of the reasons I always say, listen, you don't have to fire coaches every 2 years unless they're, go 0-12 or 0-11, because you're going to foul up your recruiting. And I do think that while everybody should be upset, this, I think, was a somewhat winnable game because of your defense, for the most part.
No takeaway.
Your offense is not there yet. Let's go to area code. Go ahead, Bruce.
We had no takeaways, did we?
No. That's another. You almost had one. Damn near had one, but no, you're right about that. It was not he had 3 sacks, but I do not believe there was. That was just Miami had the turnover. 304. I've traveled a lot. Now, where's 304? Let's see. Let me better yet. Let me put him on the air. Then he can answer and actually tell us where area code 304 is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so help me. It's in West Virginia. So help me out here. I've been watching football for a long time, and for some reason, I always thought if you were moving forward and you go out of bounds, the clock stops. Not going lateral or not going backwards, but if you're moving forward, the clock stops. Am I wrong on that? Because that clock, after Mallory got hurt, we had 2 players go out of bounds, and they were moving forward when they went out of bounds, and the clock kept running.
Then that's a timing error, unless the only thing I can think of is that the officials did not think he went out of bounds. And that's the only thing I can think of. I know, they have the rules of the out of bounds to speed the game up, although that never happens anymore, is when a guy goes out of bounds, they rush the ball back in and start the play clock faster, but not the game clock.
Right. Exactly. So that it literally happened. I mean, I'll go back and watch it again.
All right, I've got it on the DVR.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to watch that again.
So I guess so. The follow up on that, if I am correct, and they were moving forward and they went out of bounds and the clock continues to run, doesn't with this large coaching staff, doesn't someone like a time manager to kind of catch that, to give the heads up to the coach so we can get that to stop? I don't know. It may sound like I'm nitpicking.
No. That's okay. That's what we're here for.
With the non-tempo that we had, you would have thought that would get called out. So that was frustrating. And like the previous caller said, I think with the last 5 regimes, and I'm including Coker, after that Stevenson fumble, I think those teams would have quit. So I do see what we have in this coaching staff. I am impressed with. It's frustrating because Texas A&M is not that good of a team, and we not on offense. We really hurt ourselves, and it is nice to see that our defense. Like I've listened a couple times. I've heard people talk about Corey Flack. Corey Flack showed up tonight. He did a great job. I mean, not a great job, but he did a good job. I mean, he was there. He was tackling. He is limited at certain things. He's kind of reached his ceiling, but yet he still plays hard, and it is what it is. DJ Ivy gets a lot of flack, but he did well tonight. So I was impressed with our defense. I mean, if you think about it, you take that 7 points off the board that we gave them with the muff punt. I mean, that's 10 points. I mean, we pretty much shut their offense down. I don't understand the running of Tyler Van Dyke when he could easily call his nickname could be the Turtle. I don't understand why you run with him, but that's beside the point.
Well,
he saw something. He saw the end go inside. He thought he could beat it, but he can't. He can't. He's not quick.
No,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm with all you guys on that. Now, a couple of times, and thank you very much for the call. A couple of times he ran in an emergency,
Right.
but there was a one play near the goal line, and he was the ball carrier. I'm like, no, you can't do that. He's
No,
not
it's a
the
waste of
guy
the
for
play.
that. And that, and listen, they're going to get inside their airplane there pretty soon and head home. And every coach is going to be on their iPads or whatever device they watch video on now, and they will grade their own play calling. And I expect things to be a little bit different. Of course, now you're not playing in A&M again. You're going down a step or two in MTSU. But to me, the MTSU game, and I don't want to get too far ahead because I know a lot of folks want to talk about this one, is almost a reset to go, okay, let's do some other things. We've had 3 games. We've seen let's try maybe a couple people that are a little bit different. You have maybe a couple of approaches, maybe some different play calls. You've got, look, if Restrepo's gone for about 3 more games, Bruce, if you say 4 to 5 weeks, because you do have an off week built in there.
Yeah.
So who is it going to be? Maybe it's Mallory. That was the one. Parrish ran pretty well. I really like this kid. And the Rooster also showed some life today. So there are snippets to pull away, but you still only scored 9 points. You had 2 field goals, 1 blocked, which is ridiculous. One was just way off. Just it's basically the equivalent of shanking your 5-iron in the middle of the fairway.
He would have made them too. We could have been down 2 in the last few minutes of the game,
right. But the problem is, Bruce, they were calling plays like they were down 2.
I know.
All right, a couple more callers. We do have to tell everybody about CanesWear, but let's get to the 646. Bruce, we are apparently a hit all across the United States. This is another state heard from. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking a minute with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm actually calling from New York City.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
Points I want to make.
Yeah.
Couple of points I want to make. First of all, I was very disappointed in the game today. I thought Van Dyke had a horrible game. He's staring at receivers. He missed a few throws. The wide receivers had a poor game. They missed a lot of catches they should have made. But I think you have to look. There's a bright side. Number one is I know guys are giving slack to our offensive line, but I think they played well today. How many times was Van Dyke actually sacked? Was he even sacked today?
Well, let's take a look. Well, keep going. I know they got A&M 3 times. I will look. I will get an official number for you on that because I've got the stats right here. He was not sacked. You're absolutely right. He was not sacked. He gained 13 yards on 5 rushes.
I mean, he was pressured some, but that's going to happen. But the fact that he wasn't sacked, I thought the running game was great. I thought the running backs ran hard. They had a lot of holes. I think the offensive line played very well. And we're basically playing with the same offensive line from last year. But they are totally different. So I think the offensive line played great. The defense, I thought the defense played good. There was no takeaways. I give you that. But they played well. They played well. And one thing about Flag, the problem I think a lot of people have with Flag and Steve, Flag did make 1 or 2 plays, but he's also making tackles 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, tackling guys from behind. We need linebackers that make plays at the line of scrimmage where they don't allow the backers to get 2 and 3 yards. That's missing from this defense.
Well, part of that might be overall, go ahead and finish up. I have a thought on what you just said there, but please go ahead.
Yeah. Overall, I think what your last couple of callers stated, this team would have folded last year. They played hard, but we were in the game. Obviously, the offense and the play calling was atrocious, but we were in the game, and that's a lot different. Because how many times have we played in these big games, and the fourth quarter comes and it's over? Well,
that
it wasn't like that today. They had a chance.
And you know what? That is. Thank you very much for the call. Bruce. He brings up a great point, and it's interesting to me now how our listeners are latching on to that. And I don't know whether that's just like a little melatonin to help them get him to fall asleep this morning. But I think there's a fair point there, because, and you and I talked about this, Gary talked about this with us last week. How many times in a big Saturday night game has Miami been just blowed out?
Right. Yeah, and you know, I'm surprised they didn't use Thaddeus Franklin more. He only carried him like once or twice.
One time.
He's a big kid, and you know that would have tired them out a little bit. But
look.
I mean, with the Rooster there, I understand it. But if you're going to put Rooster in, you got to get him out in the flat. You got to get him in space, not running up the gut like that. But the running game was good, you know. But the receivers. You know, we talked about it, and Gary said the last week before the first game that they look good. Well, they look really bad today.
Well, that was before the first game. They're playing against themselves.
No, but
you
that's
know,
okay.
Well, all right. So you mentioned the Rooster. Knighton had 14 carries. So,
right.
And Parrish had 16. So you got to get Knighton on the field. You have to keep Parrish on the field. I mean, anybody knows that. So someone's going to lose out. And it looks like it's going to be Franklin. Now, as we go on, you know, injuries, whoever could happen, performance slips, whatever. I wanted to go back to the caller, though, and about flag and about guys making tackles. Remember, it is part of the defensive line's job to slow the blockers down so linebackers can make plays closer to the line of scrimmage. And this was an up and down performance for the D line. 3 sacks, way up. Do you realize that A&M did not get 300 total yards?
Really?
You know, in modern college football now, frequently teams get 300 by half, and they had 263 total yards. Miami had 217 to 139 passing, 176 to 124 rushing. Third down efficiency was
that's
off.
The case, Dave. And why did they lose the game? Well, a big part of it was all those drops and the receivers not getting open. And I also think that they got to use Arroyo more. They have to, because he's a mismatch for people. You know, you could stay with Mallory. He's not swift. He's not quick. But Arroyo was a big kid who could run. Who's going to cover him? So, and we didn't see Skinner. I thought we might see him. So, you know, I'm not disappointed. I'm happy. I like the direction of this team and where they're going. There's some things that are missing, and it became very obvious today the areas that they have to work on.
And as pointed out by Rocky here, and I just looked down at my stat sheet, 27 first downs, 9 points. Now, 6 of those were lost in the kicking game. So it's 17-15, as you pointed out, and who the hell knows. You also had 2 massively destructive holding penalties on the next to last drive. Cost him a first down or very close to a first down, and all of a sudden, here's Van Dyke on 3rd and 24 running for 5 yards because nobody was open. Here's something we must do, and believe me, we're going to get to everybody. We're going to try to get to all your comments. We're still going to hear from Gary, but you know what? We do have an awesome sponsor, and here's CanesWear.
Welcome to CanesWear. Family owned and operated since 2010, CanesWear has all latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at CanesWear.com. CanesWear, the spot Miami fans shop.
And there you go. He's Bruce. I'm Dave. I have a lot of comments and callers. You know, talent level, again, that's Rocky. I agree. Actually, there's some pretty rational comments coming out of here after a loss. You know, the special teams, well, somebody complaining about special teams. Remember that the first 2 games, they were great. Weaker opponents? Yes. So now, to me, the season's going to start again after the break. You know, you should be 3-1. You break, and now we're going to truly learn the identity of this team. Is it going to be a team that's going to struggle to score points all year and then have to win on defense, which they can do, but probably not against a Clemson, maybe not even against Florida State? All of a sudden, those guys look pretty good.
Yep.
Is that a real 3-0? And if it is, then that's a problem. Or are things going to be changing in the break period and also the game coming up next week against the Blue Raiders? very interesting to see what this ACC looks like. Let me get back, Bruce, to the caller here.
I think it's very weak.
What is weak?
The ACC, well, at least the Coastal.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we should
all right,
blow
NC State won today. They played somebody pretty good. Texas Tech. They took them down today. Well, you know what? While we're listening to our 954 caller, and by the way, for the caller, it's area code 304. Please put your hand up, and all you have to do to put your hand up is hit the number 1. And I don't want these folks to wait until 2 in the morning. So let's bring in our 954 caller. Finally, somebody from our immediate area. We've had calls from New York, West Virginia, near Jacksonville. This has been pretty funny. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hey, Bruce and Dave, it's Mitch from Coral Springs. How are you?
Hey, Mitch. What can we do for you?
So a few points. I think that both of you guys made some really, really good points. I think that the coaching staff is doing a good job with the talent that they have. And I know Dave spoke a little while ago about, maybe not calling plays because you don't feel like having well, I'd like to go back a few years. On running back named Larry Dunca, and they ran the ball on first down, ran the ball on second down, ran the ball on third down, and they drafted a little guy named Sam Marino, and they changed what they did. So I would like to see them come up with some plays, get them on the hands of some of the makers and do some things.
Mitch, hold on a second. When Marino got there, they had Clayton and Cooper. It's a big difference.
He had playmakers. He never had a great running game like if he had been around in the 70s when they did have the great running game. But then, that would have been fun. They would have gone on beaten like 5 years in a row with that combination, but especially him throwing to Paul Warfield. But when you say playmakers, Mitch, I'd like to know who they are that aren't runners. Right now, the playmakers, and Bruce say yes or no to this, or Parrish, and maybe Knight, the Rooster, might be the playmakers at the moment.
Yeah, Mallory to a certain extent, and I still want to see Arroyo get in the game more.
All right, Mitch, thank you, man. We appreciate it. Go ahead. Finish up with your thought there, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, some of those running backs seem to have a lot of talent, but the gentleman who has suspended the first 2 games, just like he has some speed too, maybe he can do some jet sweeps or something, to change it up a little bit.
I don't see jet sweeps as much as I used to. And then the pros too. That was the thing in the NFL. That I don't know if that play now. Maybe the coordinators have figured out how to stuff it. But it's interesting to say that.
Well, didn't Brashard Smith run one of those in each of the first 2 games?
Yeah.
Around. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
The flow goes this. I thought they were going to fake that and then go to the left side, but I didn't see that today. I don't see much deception with their offense. Not a lot of movement. I thought it was too vanilla today, and we all expected to open up the whole playbook and go crazy, but they didn't do it. And maybe Mario's smart. Maybe Mario knows he can't do that because he doesn't have the horses at the wide receiver position.
I think that's the point. I really do. I think today they were exposed a bit in a bad way on offense as not an explosive attack. By the way, the same goes for Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They've got one wonderful running back, but they start another quarterback. He was okay. This was their LSU guy, the lefty Johnson. Didn't do much.
No.
Won the game, but All right, let's go to the 601 because we're just all over the place tonight. And you are on with Bruce and Dave, and I imagine Gary should be checking in here pretty soon.
Hey, Bruce and Dave, it's Steve from out of Rid, Mississippi.
No kidding.
Right on the Alabama line.
Okay, I've probably driven through there once or twice.
Yeah, you probably have. I'm not disappointed with the defense at all. I think the defense played outstanding. I believe that that defense that we got, I believe we can still win the Coastal and maybe and maybe give Clemson a good run also. But I think that what we need to do on offense with Restrepo out, we need to keep 2 tight ends on the field at all times. Just like Bruce was saying, we threw to Aurelio one time. I'm feeling he is a mismatch, and we don't use him one time with him and Mallory on the field. I believe that would cause some double coverage on our tight ends and leave some of the wide receivers one-on-one deep down the field, and also will strengthen the running game. You know,
he's exactly right. He's right. That's why I say that. If you have these big guys catching the ball, the safeties are going to come up. Then you get somebody.
We hear you.
But they can't get anybody deep, so you can't even get the underneath because they were busting up underneath throws as well. They just
what I would love to see Saturday, and to the point that almost every caller and a lot of the comments are making. Here's what I'm doing: the first time Miami gets the ball, I'm bombing it on 1st and 10. I don't care where the ball is, unless your kick returner puts you at the 10-yard line. I'm letting loose. I'm going to go ahead and call a double move, a fly, whatever, and I'm just going to send my fastest guy down there and let him go, and just to show everybody that we're willing to do this. I would almost prefer that than a
offense side.
Go ahead.
I didn't cut you off. The offense I would like to see them run is with Reggie and Peyton thing, and then it's coach. When Andrew Jane got all the yards rushing, that type of offense. They kept 2 tight ends on the field all the time, and they just strengthen the run game and throw the long ball.
Well, they also threw. Thank you very much. They threw to Edgerrin quite a bit too, because he still had the best hands of any Miami running back that's ever played the game in a Hurricanes uniform, at least to my memory. But there's somebody else. For those of you who are automatically predicting FSU to just wipe everybody out, you realize that their training room is still full from that game. They suffered a lot of serious injuries in that game, and it could slow them down. I'm not saying that they're not going to be a force the rest of the year. They certainly have to feel great about themselves. So let me, real quick, when we have another caller, and I'm not going to make him wait long. So here's their Coastal. So Virginia Tech, they won today.
Yeah.
They technically lead the Coastal at 1-0.
Okay.
Duke, for some reason, is 3-0. People are talking about game day next Saturday possibly being Duke and Kansas, like it's basketball season.
Kansas won today, right?
Kansas destroyed Houston after they beat West Virginia, which, by the way, I bet on in Vegas. Rock Chalk Jayhawks. So you got Carolina, certainly the most interesting team in the ACC, because Carolina may be the first team to play a game where someone gets 100. Then Pitt. I respect Pitt a great deal. They go into Kalamazoo. Broncos. They do beat the Broncos in an upset. Virginia, I think Bart Simpson said it best. Meh. And then ultra meh is Georgia Tech. And the problem that Jeff Collins ran into at Georgia Tech, you talk about trying to recruit different people. When they ran that 1870 Teddy Roosevelt leather helmet crap, which the service academies have to run, but Paul Johnson ran it in a metropolitan school,
in a major conference, no less.
They don't have the people that Jeff Collins needs, so they're a pain. And Clemson, no trouble today. We talk about Syracuse 3-0 for some strange reason. I think Dino Babers' seat was pretty hot. NC State, I think, is a solid team at 3-0. Wake survives. BC and Louisville, we can talk about some other day, like maybe 10 years from now. You know what, Bruce? We got one caller from the 304. We don't want to lose him and make him wait too long. So you are on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I actually just called back in because I was
all right.
enjoying the listening. But I'll finish up what I said earlier.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of putting our playmakers out there, and I think our 2 biggest playmakers right now on offense are Parrish and Eisen. I think we can run a two-set backfield. And Knight now in the backfield, I think he's a mismatch for a lot of linebackers. I think it's a no-brainer. Obviously, we had a good pass to Parrish earlier tonight, and he dropped it. That sucked. But, I mean, those type of plays right there is what's going to get us big games and win football games for us. What we learned tonight from our offensive line is that we can go against a big-time defensive line. I think that's going to prepare us for someone like Clemson. So I do like our outcome for the conference schedule. I would like to see us come out and just play none. I mean, we really got to put it on Middle Tennessee State next week. We take that week off, and I think we'll be fine. But yeah, I don't think the Coastal's going to be a breeze. I mean, obviously UNC is going to put up points, but they don't have a defense. So I like to see our defense step up. I think Duke, for some reason, Duke is going to be tough. So yeah, I think it would be cool to have them game day in Kansas and Duke next week. I mean, well, hell, why not? Who else is playing? So we're on the right track. I know people want to see Garcia, but at the end of the day, Van Dyke is the starter. Unless he gets hurt, that's who we're going to roll with. Unless he just falls off the cliff, and he's making good throws. We just have to have a receiver step up, bar none. That's all it is. There's too many drop passes tonight and too many bonehead mistakes. There's no way of getting around it.
Well, I think you got a good point. I mean, even the last pass of the game, the last pass of the game was dropped.
Right in his hands, right in his face.
Might have had too much sauce on it, but Van Dyke's under some heat. He's got to keep this thing going. He throws it a little hard. That's okay. I've always believed if it hits you in the hands, you're supposed to catch it. And it hit him in both hands, and he had to reach a little.
He's playing receiver right now.
Yeah. So I'm with you. People are calling Bruce for 2 backs at the same time. That just isn't done anymore. It just isn't done. 2 tight ends will happen. You'll have what they call 12 personnel, one back and 2 tight ends, way before you'll ever see it the other way around.
Yeah, they're little backs. They're not big time blockers, Without Cheney, who's only like 210, or Thaddeus in the game. They can't be putting those 2 little guys back there.
No. Nobody does that anymore. Dennis Erickson was one of the first guys to change that up when he came in here and used that 1-back offense. I think it worked out fairly well. Yeah, and that's just where the game is. You don't have 2 backs that often in the NFL like you used to. They line up in that one formation. You had a fullback and a halfback and 1 tight end and the 2 receivers, and damn it, this is how we play. Well, obviously the game has evolved since then, and that's why I don't see that. And
I don't have any problem with the 1 back. I got a problem with not using him in the flat. The flat was open the whole game.
Yeah, well,
you got to keep doing that until they take it away from you. And then if the linebackers are spread out, then the middle becomes open. The middle was never open. Not today.
This will be noticed. This I think will all be noticed.
Mario's not going to miss out on these things, that's for sure.
No.
Mario knows what he's doing, but they got to find the receiver. I don't care how good the coach is. There's Gary.
What's up, guys?
Well, you're obviously not driving home, so.
No, I'm actually just walked into the stadium so I could get on with you guys for a few minutes, and then I'm going to head back upstairs and get back on with you again. But I know it's late, so I figured I'd pop in here. If you want, I can give you a quick synopsis of the mood of the team, the feeling about the game.
Yeah, man.
All right, so, I mean, essentially it came down, but I got to get out of the way of the lawnmowers out here. But essentially, it came down to a few plays. I mean, obviously, the muff punt was a big deal. Obviously the missed field goals were a big deal. Aside from that, I thought maybe the biggest play of the game was when Henry Parrish was wide open. I believe it was the first quarter on 3rd down, and Van Dyke puts a perfect pass right in his hands, and he drops it. He might have scored on that play. So you can isolate this thing down really to just that, and that was the difference between winning and losing in a really tough environment here on the road. I personally left the game feeling very encouraged by what I saw. I thought they were very physical. I can't imagine any team in the Coastal matching the level of physicality that they played with tonight on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line. I think this team has a fundamental issue, and we've talked about it all through the preseason. They don't have a playmaker on the outside, guys. And people are just going to have to accept that. I mean, they don't have it, and they're not going to be able to fix that until recruiting this year. So it's station-to-station offense. They had 27 first downs tonight and didn't score a touchdown.
Right.
But I've been getting different texts and comments, and people want to criticize play calling and this and that. And yeah, I mean, Josh Gaddis wasn't perfect every single play, but when you have to drive the ball, 16, 17 plays down the field to try to score a touchdown in a hostile game on the road with 107,000 people on top of you and, very little margin for error, that's asking a lot of a team that's at this level of development. So I personally was very encouraged by what I saw tonight. I think if Tyreek doesn't drop the punt, I think if Parrish makes that catch, if Borogalis doesn't miss the 2 field goals, Miami walks out of here with a victory. Now, people say, that's excuses or whatever. It's not excuses. I mean, at the end of the day, this game will not impact how Miami exits this season feeling, successful or not successful. So, it's going to be about the ACC.
Yeah, it's game 3. That's part of it. But Gary, the big, massive complaint that we're getting from is the play calling itself, and particularly in the red zone. I can think of the one drive where they ended up with the short field goal, where at one point Van Dyke was the ball carrier, and everybody had to be screaming, "What in the hell's going on here?" So, what did you hear about red zone play calling? I'm assuming that came up.
Yeah, it could have been better at times, no doubt about it. But you're always going to say that when it doesn't work. I mean, the guy is calling the plays. He's planned all week to call those plays, and he's thinking they're going to work. And A&M's got a pretty good defense, and they shut them down, and they didn't work. So we're gonna, you're of course the instinct for those of us out here is to say those play calls stunk because they didn't work. But I don't disagree with. There's probably something better that you could do than run Tyler Van Dyke. I thought they did get a little too horizontal at times in the red zone, and they need to be a little more vertical. But like I said, all in all, I thought they, it's another loss. They haven't won one of these games on the road since 2005. And I know it's another loss, and people are tired of it, and people want better, and they're justified in wanting that. I'm leaving here encouraged by what I saw tonight. I thought they were extremely competitive. I thought they were prepared, and they just, they committed the sins. When you go play a big game on the road, you can't have turnovers, you can't have penalties. They had some critical penalties, a few holding calls that really hurt them bad. I don't have the stats in front of me right this minute in terms of yards.
I do.
Penalty. How many yards?
54.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not terrible on face value.
The holding was deadly.
Yeah, and if you look at when those penalties occurred, they were really at key times in the red zone when they were trying to score touchdowns. And listen, you're not going to do that against a decent team like this on the road. I mean, this team's skewed because they lost to App State last week, but I don't think the Texas A&M that Miami played tonight in any way resembled the Texas A&M that lost to App State. That's my opinion.
Gary,
with all the mistakes and everything that happened, had they recovered that muffed punt inside the 10 and scored, they only needed a field goal at the end of the game. So despite all the bad, they were right.
A 2-point conversion to tie the game.
Yeah, they go for 2. They have to go for 2 in that situation. They tie it potentially, but just as long as they didn't run Van Dyke, they would get the 2-point conversion.
But yeah, it was razor thin, guys. I mean, like Tyreek's punt muffs a punt, they lose it, they score a touchdown. Their guy muffs a punt, he recovers it. This was a razor thin game. I mean, it really was. I don't know. I maybe I'm crazy, but I'm leaving here tonight encouraged by what I saw. I feel the program is making progress.
Absolutely, Gary. Absolutely. Anybody that disagrees with that is foolish. We don't have a couple of receivers we really need. I think we missed Restrepo. I don't think he would have muffed that punt.
If you put Restrepo and Rambo on this field tonight, Miami would have been by far the better team.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Gary, here's what I said. Gosh, it's been a little while now. We've been on here for a bit. I said if you had this year's defense with last year's offense, it's a win.
But
you can't do that, of course. It's purely hypothetical, but that's how I felt about it, because last year you had playmakers, but this year the defense seems to be better, faster. I think for the most part, with one glaring exception, was the tackling seems to be better. So I'm dying. When do you publish your grades, Gary? Is that Monday or Sunday?
No, we'll have them up tonight.
Okay.
We'll have everything. We'll have
Yeah,
a whole bunch covered. We're grinding right now. I'm just taking a break to come on this show, but we've got all kinds of stuff in motion. We'll have
Tonight, you
all,
mean this
all the
morning?
post-game interviews are probably on the website already. Our report card will be out. If it's not on there, it'll be out any minute. We've got a game analysis on the website. I'll have a column on the website in a little bit. Yeah, we're rocking, man. Team no sleep.
What about the injuries? None? We have any major injuries? What happened
No,
to Mallory?
I don't think so. I think everybody's okay.
Yeah, that was good. Not to see any injuries for a change.
Even Will Mallory, who landed on his head. That was
troubling. That was very troubling. And I was actually, in a way, I wasn't happy to see him back in that quickly. But
he was okay.
It's his head, it's his neck, not mine. And he appears to be okay. So, somebody's saying we need Brandon Innes. Brandon Innes is one of my students, and he's going to stick to Ohio State. Thank you very much. Good kid too. Would have been nice.
Would have been nice. There's other guys out there. They, listen, they got the transfer portal they'll be working. I mean, they got to find a couple outside receivers that can make plays, that can get open. You're watching how long Tyler Van Dyke has to hold the football, waiting for somebody to break open. They're lacking speed on the outside. They're lacking ability to get open. They're lacking ability to make big plays. This offense has to be schemed up, okay? And there's going to be a lot of people criticizing Josh Gaddis, like you guys were just talking about.
Well, they are.
But
they are.
Yeah, I know they are. But the thing is, it's like you're having to call a lot of plays to try to move the ball down the field. And these are college kids. I mean, it's like you don't have an NFL playbook.
The other thing, Gary, about that, and you brought this point out earlier, is that when you have to drive the ball that long, there's a reason that some teams play bend, don't break defense. Their attitude is, we think you're going to screw up somewhere in your 12 or 13 play drive and break down and either not get the touchdown or not get the first down and we'll get the ball back, or maybe attempt a field goal that may or may not work. And, that's hard to maintain. And you mentioned college. These guys aren't as consistent as professional football players, so maybe a 14-play drive is much more doable in the NFL than it is here. So you're counting on that 19-year-old not to have a false start. You're counting on that 20-year-old to not drop the ball or to make the proper cut at the proper time. So when you have those long drives, it's great, and it gives your defense a break, and it wears down the other defense. But at the same time, the margin for error is razor thin. And it's difficult to maintain that kind of consistency. If that has to go on from now until whatever bowl game Miami winds up in, it will be kind of a struggle to watch this team with the football. I got to be honest, from a sitting on the couch point of view, it isn't a lot of fun to watch them with the ball. It's much more fun to watch them play defense right now because there's a little bit of that old Miami in that defense. And I only say a little bit. I don't want to go crazy with this because we're early.
But you don't minimize how hard Henry Parrish ran tonight, how hard Jalen Knighton ran tonight. What a good job the offensive line did blocking. I mean, that's a big-time SEC defensive front they have. I mean,
I agree.
They've got issues. A&M has issues. They're going to be probably an 8-win team this year. They're not going to, they're going to lose some games in the SEC. They have similar problems that Miami has. They've only got a couple playmakers. But that running back and that receiver that they had on the field tonight were better than any running back or receiver on Miami's roster. And that was a huge difference in the game. And then the other thing I'll point out is I believe there were, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 possessions where Miami had to start, I think, inside the 10-yard line.
Well, that's good. Special teams was something we talked about that right away, that the one area of the football of the team that we felt really good about after 2 games that we thought had no questions about it kind of backfired today was special teams.
Well, their punter was great. I mean,
I agreed.
Great.
Agreed.
So you can't. Nope. That's not a special teams flaw. He's great.
No, but there were other issues.
Oh yeah, of course there were. Yeah.
The liberal return and
he wasn't here.
Right. So I tell you what, Gary, let me see. We've had a bunch of calls, and it looks like but it is 1:30 in the morning. But you'd be interested, Gary. We've had calls from West Virginia, the Jacksonville area, New York, and even one from Broward County. So, yeah, we've seen some unusual area codes pop up tonight. Why don't you head up if you want? And how is it going to take you all to get up?
No, I'll be back with you guys in 5-10 minutes.
All right,
and we'll talk some more, take some more calls.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more. We're just some comments. Interesting conversation about who should play more, Rooster or Parrish. I'm a fan of both of them at the moment. I actually give a tiny edge to Parrish.
You need them both.
You
need them both. They can't take any more pounding than what they're already taking.
Oh, it's a shame that Cheney's hurt. It's a real shame. But I think Franklin would have gotten it a little more because he's a bruiser. And they would have maybe tired out the defensive line, but he only got in once. So
he got one carry, but then again, you have two backs who are averaging over 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, you're not taking out those two guys to run Thad Franklin in this game. There's no.
But I wouldn't have run so much, Gary. I would have done some more swing passes and stuff in the flat to get him one-on-one with linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see a screen the whole night. I mean,
I know. That's what I said.
I mean, listen, if we want to sit here and nitpick, we can nitpick. But I'm trying to look at the big picture.
We are.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the big
Where the
picture.
hell are the screens?
I honestly.
Where have you been?
The biggest thing that I looked at tonight was just the physicality they played with.
That's what I said first thing.
They slugged it out with an SEC team.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
and they didn't flinch, not one time.
And Gary, and that has come up. Obviously, and just the folks we've talked to tonight, we had a bunch of calls right at the start of the show. Of course, you're disappointed and frustrated, but 3 or 4 of them, and even some of the commenters kind of took what you said, Gary, earlier and said, in the past, previous Miami editions would have lost this game by a lot more than just 8 and would have been either blown out or gotten discouraged or slumped their shoulders, which they clearly didn't do. They outgained Texas A&M by over 100 yards. They had 27 first downs. They had a steady running game. They had more passing yardage, although it was still not a spectacular day in the passing game. That could have been a lot better. You have to be a little bit encouraged by that, despite the frustrations, because, there's enough mistakes to go around to realize that I think Miami should have won this game. A&M, by the way, plays Arkansas next week, so I wish you a really, really, really good luck with that. But, this at least thankfully didn't turn into some of these other games against opponents on the road. Now that you're at least getting up in class and playing better, there's so much more that has to be done between drop pass. And how do you fix drop passes? How do you fix some of these things?
You don't.
And you know what? And to your point about play calling, you call that play, and your assumption as the play caller is, well, he's going to catch it.
You have to assume he's going to catch it. Yeah,
right. You have to explain okay, we call that play because we thought, the tackle and guard would block better than they did and wouldn't get beat across their face, and our quarterback got sacked. That wasn't, that happens all the time. So,
hey, let's remember one more thing, and then I'm going to click off for a few minutes. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Tyler Van Dyke had never played in a game like this. Okay, we look at everything he accomplished last year, and it's nothing to be minimized. 6 straight 300-yard games. That was against basically ACC coastal competition. I mean, he had never gone on the road to a place like this and had to carry a team. I mean, we keep talking, Tyler's going to the NFL, this or that. In reality, he is still in the early stages of his development as a player. Now, he may or may not try to go to the NFL after this year. It'll depend, I'm sure, how the rest of the season goes. But he's very early in the game, and he had to benefit enormously from what he experienced tonight and the level that he had to play at. All right, I'll be back in about 5 minutes, guys. Dave.
All right, very good.
Dave, just click me off, and I'll be back.
Okay.
All right, he is gone. It is just us right now, Bruce, and our friends in the comment section. So you know what? I'm going to probably have to turn. It's getting hot in my little room here, so I'm going to turn my ceiling fan on. While I do that, let's hear from our sponsor.
Welcome to CanesWear. Family owned and operated since 2010, CanesWear has all latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at CanesWear.com. CanesWear, the spot Miami fans shop.
Well,
and there you go. There you have it.
That's a great place. I love that place.
Don't forget, grab your sub next door and at La Spada, and you're in good shape. Just don't get any of the olive oil dressing on your new Cane shirt or your hat. If of course, why would you get it on your hat? I don't know, but make sure. Yeah, that they're in a good location, centrally located off University Drive in Davie. So we appreciate their sponsorship very, very much. You mentioned. Let's take a second here while we hear from Gary and talk about some of the other things that happened in college football today. The Gators, South Florida is really bad, and the Gators almost lost to them in the Swamp, 31-28. But they did win, and they played Tennessee next week. That's a possible game day location, by the way, in Gainesville.
Where's that game at?
Gainesville. So they got a shot there. Anthony Richardson, I was having not an argument, but a discussion with somebody today about him and how inexperienced he is because he wasn't used enough last year by Dan Mullen.
Right.
So if you're into that sort of thing, Mississippi destroying Georgia Tech today. Wake Forest barely beating Liberty, but Liberty's a tough out.
Yes, they are.
And Wake, give them credit because in many ways they're a lot like the University of Miami as a school. They're smaller. They're even smaller than UM.
Right.
But they're starting to play good football again. Their basketball program for some reason has gone to pot, but to get good football players to come to that place, it's a beautiful campus, but it is small. Yep. I mean, UM's got 10? They've got like 4,000 at Wake Forest.
Really?
So that's impressive. Oh, it's tiny. Oh, it's tiny, dude. Very tiny.
Okay.
But gorgeous. So NC State manhandles Texas Tech 27-14, covering the spread there. Boston College did win. Of course, they played Maine, and Clemson had an exhibition against Louisiana Tech and won that one. That's just the ACC. Let me get to the big picture stuff here that happened because, and by the way, if you happen to bet on the Hawaii-Duquesne game, number one, you have a problem. Number two, they're winning Hawaii as the Rainbow Warriors are up 14-6. My buddies up at FAU were doing very well in the first half against UCF. And then, there was a break in the action in our game, and I went, oh, crap. They got blown out 40-14. Yeah, they got outscored 24-0. In fact, they didn't score in the last three quarters. So, but that's out of that's slightly out of their league, UCF. USC is going to win. They're going to beat Fresno State. Michigan State today got their pants pulled down at Washington. That was insane what happened there. So if you're wondering if the coaching change helped Nebraska, it didn't. They got knocked on their ear at home, 49-14. Michigan. Who was I talking to? Oh, mess. I thought you said it was the best to watch a game.
It's a mess.
No, I know. And you know what, though? And this is something hopefully won't happen here. I don't think it will. You realize, Bruce, there's a generation of people who have grown up with Nebraska not being a national contender. When they fired Frank Solich, they brought in Bill Callahan, who tried to change everything. He had the wrong people, as I've talked about. Then Bo Pelini did a good job, but he was a little, shall we say, emotional. And they haven't recovered from that. And their relevancy shrinks every year.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid,
when the A&M player, all right. So Raphael talks about when the A&M player muffed the punt, why no one tried to prevent the player from recovering the ball. I think they tried.
They did try.
Hey, I would say that was just better effort by the A&M player, and he had a better angle, being on top as opposed to underneath. He just won that one. It was a better effort.
They got all the breaks today, so that's okay. But I'm still encouraged with how they played, but I'm very worried about the offense right now.
Well, I understand. Georgia looks ridiculous. West Virginia, I'm looking for Notre Dame won at the last second on Cal. UCLA had to kick a field goal to beat South Alabama, 32-31. By the way, sneaky good, and I hope they make the rankings this week, is Tulane. Tulane is 3-0. They beat Kansas State today on the road.
Oh, wow.
And I do a little writing for a gambling newsletter, and I had to write that game up. And Tulane had, after playing 2 cupcakes, had the number 2 ranked defense in the country. And I said, hardy har har, wait till they get to the Little Apple. Well, they won 17-10.
Wow.
So they might actually be halfway decent. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, we talked about. Minnesota's 3-0. Wisconsin, moving on. Hey, Vanderbilt's 3-1. Holy crap.
Wow.
Greatest year they've ever had.
Who
Well,
did
they went to
beat?
Northern Illinois. And here's
Oh,
the thing. For the first time since 2009, a MAC school was favored over the SEC.
Wow. That's pretty. That's
And it was 2009, was it? And the only time it ever happened, Vanderbilt. And both times they won. Other than that, Bama, yeah, big deal. Kansas is 3-0. Wake 3-0.
Before Gary gets back on, let's give out the number again. It's 563-999-3550. 563-999-3550. Here's Gary coming back now.
Right there, and just looking offense cost the game. Gary, you can. I don't know if you can see the comments now.
Yeah, I can.
You know, the villain. I'll make it easy for you, and these are legitimate points. I don't think anybody has put out anything that I would consider wacky. Obviously, the same thing we've talked about, the lack of help from the wide receiver game. Van Dyke is kind of getting shredded a bit. You know, he's had now back-to-back games where, and again, you pointed out this was a different environment for him, but, you know, he was down on himself after the last game. I can't imagine he's overjoyed about the way he played today, but under a lot of duress.
Well, it was hit or miss. I mean, you know, I think
you can't do that. You know, unfortunately, the problem that he's run into now is because he has average playmaking talent. Now he has to be better. He has to rise above that somehow. And the problem is because he's not a great runner, he can't go, okay, I'm a great running quarterback. I'll get my 100 yards and maybe score a touchdown while my receivers develop on the job. And we don't have that luxury here. So
no, and I'm not sure there's going to be any developing on the job either.
No.
I think what we saw tonight is what it's going to be. It's going to be hit or miss. I think it'll be a little bit easier for them against ACC competition. This team had good DBs.
Yes,
even depleted. I think they were down like 2 or 3 guys in their defensive backfield.
Yeah.
And Miami couldn't exploit it. I mean, there's going to be times when they struggle with this set of receivers. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're just all. I mean, it's harsh, it's uncomfortable. It's. I know I'm upsetting people when I say it, but it's the truth. And my job is to tell the truth. And I've said it all through camp. All through the offseason, they do not have a number 1 receiver. And in games like tonight, that is where it's going to show up. It's going to be the difference between winning and losing. It just is. You have to, you can't obviously you can't make the mistakes they made, but it's also probably unrealistic to think that you're going to go on the road to this environment and not make a single mistake. Although I don't know that Texas A&M made too many tonight. I mean, they played a very clean game, but they were at home. So I don't know, man. I think it is what it is. I think it's going to be good enough in the ACC. I don't think there's a team in the Coastal that's going to match the level that Miami played at tonight. And
I agree.
That's
what I said before. I told I think they should run the ACC right now, except for Clemson. And maybe Florida State, because we don't know how good they really are. But,
well, we're going to find out, though. We're going to find out about their depth because, as I mentioned, they took some serious injuries.
Story on the quarterback, because I don't know what the level of the injury
Florida
is.
State's gotten lucky. They should have a couple losses.
Right.
I mean, it's good for them. They're getting breaks, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose their 4 games in the ACC.
You think? Who's going to beat them?
Miami's going to beat them.
Clemson's going to beat them.
NC State's going to beat them.
Yeah.
And from there, I'd have to look at their schedule.
Well, I'm going to do that right now. And you know what? I'm going to do that while we bring in a caller from, 786. That's unusual for the way things have gone tonight. So let's see. Get him on the air here right now. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're on.
Okay, perfect. Hey, I'm coming back from the game right now. Driving to Austin. I just wanted to say, honestly, I thought our defense looked really good. I mean, it's just unfortunate the outcome, honestly. I mean, I honestly, in my opinion, if we had Manny, it would have been a blowout, but you could clearly tell the guy led by Mario.
But my question is Manny with Rambo and Harley, or Manny with this team?
No, just Manny and the coach in general.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, you had Rambo and Harley to what's on the field tonight. It's a whole different deal to me. I don't.
Yeah. I'll second that emotion.
No, but like what I'm saying, in my opinion, I'm just saying, like when the muff punt happened, like we would have lost the team if we had Manny as the coach. With a guy like Mario kept the team in order, and we were able to stay in the game.
I'll buy that.
Y'all thought it the same. We muffed the punt. We muffed the punt, and we're all like, "Oh, here we go again. Same stuff all over again." But I mean, we were able to stay in the game. I mean, I honestly thought I was going to be leaving the game early to beat the train. I see the whole game. We were in the game to the end.
Yeah, I mean, if that pass gets caught, we can what if ourselves till we pass out. But if you catch, thank you by the way, and have a safe trip back to South Florida. If the last pass gets caught, you're down to 30 seconds. You line up, you spike one, you take a couple shots. Who knows? Gary, the Florida State schedule. Okay, Saturday night, Boston College in Tallahassee, so they're 4-0. However, no, they are. BC is not very good. All right, here's where it does get tough. Consecutive weeks, 2 of them are at home. Wake Forest and Tallahassee. They go to Raleigh, and then Clemson comes on October the 15th when we're playing Virginia, or the Hurricanes are playing Virginia Tech. Then they get a break. Then they get Georgia Tech. That's a win. Then they play the Canes November 5. Then the Qs, and that's in the Dome on November 12th.
That could be a good game.
That is not going to be pleasant. And then they get the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana on the 19th, and then they have a Thanksgiving Friday, and they play the Gators, and that game is in Tallahassee, and it's going to be, we don't know what it's going to look like, but if you want to do the old project a win and a loss kind of thing that everybody likes to do, yeah, there's some losses there.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say 8-4.
Okay.
Well, you know what? After what's happened last year, they ought to be pretty damn happy with 8-4.
I wouldn't be shocked at 7-5 either.
No, I'm not.
All right. So another thing. All right. Here's something I got it that's bugging me just a tiny bit, and I knew this was going to happen, but we're getting a few folks who want to see Jake Garcia. Now, not tonight. Okay, down the road. Okay. But if you're telling me that a guy who doesn't have the experience running this offense was going to walk out there in that environment and all of a sudden we were going to see 400 more total yards of offense and every pass was going to be caught, then please put that in gummy form and let me chew it for a while. That's going too far. I appreciate the dissatisfaction with Van Dyke. You know who's probably really dissatisfied with Van Dyke? Van Dyke.
Yep.
So he doesn't need any more piling on, but that's part of the deal when you're a college quarterback.
He's finding out that it's not as easy as it was a year ago against that level of competition that he was doing it against. I mean, what he experienced tonight is a whole different deal. And I know that, everything's polluted by their loss last week, but I mean, this was a whole different deal than anything that Tyler Van Dyke's ever seen in his life. The intensity.
And I tell you this, the desperation for A&M had to be an all-time high.
100%.
If they had not won this game, and for Miami, we all knew it was going to be 2-0, and most of us thought 2-1 until they lose to Appalachian State and have quarterback problems. I'm not 100% sold on Max Johnson. That's for damn sure, but he won the game. So at 2-1, we're about where we thought we were going to be, most of us.
Yeah.
Certainly me. Should be 3-1. Then we go on vacation for a weekend, and then we'll see what happens when the season starts over. But I would like to see Garcia get some reps. Absolutely. I'm not against
next week, right, Gary?
Yeah, I agree.
Next week.
Absolutely. You should get reps next week. But replacing Tyler as starting quarterback, no. You've already you've put now 11. You've invested 11 games in Tyler Van Dyke. What I would say should happen is his agents should back off, stop pressing this narrative that this kid has to go to the NFL, after, another 2 more months of this college football thing, and let him progress at a normal rate. I mean, he's not ready.
He's not ready
for the NFL.
He's not ready. Gary, would you agree that the crowd didn't really affect us today? We did pretty good with the noise.
I thought they handled the noise great. They were prepared great. I thought they played hard every single second of the game.
Yes, they did.
I mean, like I said earlier, guys, I walk out of here feeling very positive about where this team is, where this program is headed. I understand what they need. They need some dudes. They need some offensive dudes. But look how good the D-line played tonight. You wouldn't know that linebacker's a deficiency. I mean, Wayne and Steed missed a horrible tackle on that one touchdown.
Yes.
I mean, that's but that's the difference. You're going to have, your linebackers are a deficiency. You are going to have times where they negatively impact the results. I mean, you can't avoid it. But I would say 95% of the time, you would not know that linebacker is a problem on this team because of how good the defensive line's playing. I mean, they were dominant. I'd say 90% of the snaps. I mean, first time they're really going to battle together, this group of guys. You've got all these transfers that are being worked in. They've never gone through anything like this together. This team should get better from what it experienced tonight.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
that's the
talk about recruiting, but where's the wide receivers in their recruiting, Gary? If you want to spend a minute on it, we're going after guys we might not be getting them.
They're giving them a hard time.
Yep.
Hakeem Williams is thinking of coming here or going to Florida State. I mean, that's horrible. Horrible. Jaylen Brown is committed to LSU. Ennis is going to Ohio State. I mean, you had a banner year of recruiting in South Florida this year at receiver. If they just all stayed home together and went to Miami, you'd have a pretty good receiver recruiting class, although I'm still not convinced any of them are, Amon Richards, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson.
Right.
Like, none of those guys, to me, are that level of player. Miami has got to find some difference-making playmakers to get where it wants to go.
I'll tell you, the kid last night from Florida State looks spectacular. He's 6'7". He looks really good. I mean, we didn't get him, but we need somebody that could go down the field and make catches, make tough catches. You can't keep having these little guys because I watched the lack of physicality with our receivers today was horrible, and blocking too.
They're hit or miss, man. They're going to catch some balls. They're going to drop some balls. You're trying to win. I watched one sequence where they went to Michael Redding, I think 3 out of 4 plays. I mean, Michael Redding is an average receiver. I mean, he's going to make a play here or there, but he's not going to win a ball game for you.
There's no separation with a lot of these guys.
There's no separation. Everything's station to station. It's very difficult. And not until you get to a lower degree of difficulty, which you will get to very soon, will it look different. I mean, it's going to look different at times this year. Those guys will be able to make plays against some of the teams that will come up on the schedule.
Well, after next week, it's all ACC. So they better wake up. They have 3 weeks to get better. And they have 3 weeks to find the guys they can rely on and go with them, I thought, George got a couple of plays in there. Brinson had one. But for the most part, Keyshawn Smith went deep once or twice. They didn't get him the ball.
Didn't get open.
They're not open. The flea flicker, he almost had to eat it. He couldn't throw it down the field because they're covered.
I mean, the flea flicker worked against Southern Miss. Right. Against Texas A&M, he couldn't get open. Van Dyke had to go to his check down. Yep. It's a different deal, guys, when you're playing teams that have just better athletes. I mean, the degree of difficulty is tougher, and you can't take these guys and make them what they're not. This is not a 12-0 football team.
No. But I think this game.
I don't think anybody is that stupid.
Well, I think they should be able to beat the rest of them, but this is going to be like Clemson, the same kind of thing.
I still think they can be. I think that they can probably beat. They have a chance to beat obviously everybody. I don't know that they'll be. I expect Clemson to be similar to what we saw
That's what I
tonight.
said. They'll be similar.
Yeah, because it'll be the same problem again. Who is going to make the plays that allow you to get some scores where you don't have to go 15 plays?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's. Well, here's what we're going to do here, guys. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning back home, and about 1 o'clock in the morning at College Station. And I know you are. You driving to Houston?
A few hours of work to do too.
When do you get back?
I'm flying home tomorrow. I got
out of Houston.
Yeah. So I'll be back tomorrow. But we've got an On 3 Sunday recap show in the morning that I'll be on. And then we got a few stories we got to write. So be busy for a while.
Well, tell you what, we're going to let everybody go. Certainly appreciate we had our most active show yet, not surprisingly, because they lost. That's how these things work. Yeah, it's how it is. When you win, you don't complain as much. But you had, I think my last take out of all of this is, we talked about the offense is struggling in everything except handoffs. So what's the approach going to be against Middle Tennessee? Do they take more chances with play calls? Do they remain conservative? Middle Tennessee will come in 2-1. They blew out a weaker opponent today in Murfreesboro. Okay, fine. I do know I think they have a terrific coach in Rick Stockstill and a terrific person. Obviously, they shouldn't have the talent as Miami. I smell another Southern miss here, where this game might be close for a little while. We'll wait. We'll obviously wait and see. Hopefully, we can get some people to come out and support the team. And then, as Bruce said, we get a week off and we're off. So we're going to shut it down. Don't forget to go to CanesPort.com. You can go right now. If you still can't sleep, there's already a lot up about this game, and there's going to be a whole lot more. And all of the shows that are on during the week, including, of course, the great Lamont Thomas in the middle of the week, now involved with the Orlando and the USFL. So when you talk to him this week, make sure he can get me the announcing job up there.
You got this.
I'm putting that on both of you. Now, you know what, though? I'm going to James, I'm sorry to say this. Middle Tennessee game, I have no excitement. James, you have 11 or 12 games in a year. Doesn't matter who they play. You got to be excited. Otherwise, you have 340 other days. What is it? How many? I forgot how many days. 352, right?
365, Dave, in this country.
365 in a year. So you have 300 and bowl game would be 350-ish games to not be excited. Be excited. Even if they blow them out and the game appears to be boring, be excited.
Yeah.
Same goes for, that's what it should be. And that's part of the problem here. This town is so freaking wrapped up in who are you playing, not who is playing for my town or my university. And because so many Hurricanes fans never went to the school, we have a unique situation here. You don't have a 37,000 person student section. And this has always been a weakness of this whole city. And it's not changing anytime soon. That has always troubled me, that people don't go to see the Hurricanes. They go to see Notre Dame. They go to see Florida State. You need to start going to see the Hurricanes and get excited about all the games, and that would help. So
Program's
that's my
headed in the right direction, Dave. I really feel that.
Go to CanesWear.
I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't. I mean, everybody knows I was very critical for many years. It's headed in the right direction. Tonight was progress. Sitting there out there slugging toe to toe with a SEC team that has been recruiting better than them for many years. I think they have something to build on, but the problems that they have in terms of playmakers on the outside on offense that can make consistent plays and big plays in the passing game against good competition, that problem's not going to get solved this year. Okay. So when we play good teams like we played tonight, it is a problem that is going to show up, and it doesn't mean you can't win. Like they could have won tonight despite it, but it becomes really, really difficult. And then when you're making mistakes, fumbles, like Tyreek, and you're missing field goals and you're committing penalties at the wrong times, it's going to be very difficult to win, and that's what happened. Just a quick couple program notes before we go, Dave. We got the CaneSport Live Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, and you mentioned the Lamar Show Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So everybody can rejoin us at that time, and we'll keep talking about this and, keep slicing and dicing it up and trying to figure it out. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to keep coming back to the same thing. Playmakers on the outside, easy offense. It's not there.
And we got a former Cane wide receiver coming on Tuesday, Darrell Spencer, who played with Lamar and those guys, and they didn't drop too many balls. So we're going to ask Darrell about getting open and the physicality and the things that he's seeing that we're not doing. So it's perfect. Listen to that show on Tuesday night, guys.
And apparently we found
good night, everybody.
All right, Gary, thank you.
I'm going to work.
And apparently we found a listener who is in Vegas, so we're coming to your house to do a show. That's it. Good morning, everybody, and we'll talk to you again. Take care. Go to CaneSport.com for all the coverage from tonight's game, or actually now last night's game. Good night, everybody.
See you guys on the message boards. Good night.
Okay, see you.